Hello, my name is Dom Townsend.
And my name's Tom Buck.
This is the Plus One podcast, and our Plus One today is international DJ and producer Ferreck Dawn.
Ferreck has released music on labels such as Defected, Relief and Spinnin. He gives us some insight into his production techniques, and he also talks us through stories from Ibiza and Croatia.
So, how are you, mate?
I'm doing all right. It's been a testing year. I'm sure for you it's the same. But it's good that there's a little light at the end of the tunnel, especially in the UK. Because I'm getting some requests for gigs in the UK. It's still not really sure how I should deal with it visa-wise, because I asked a lot of people, but nobody really has an answer to it. It's a lot of confusion. So I hope we get that sorted soon and hopefully be in the UK. End of May would be the first one. So that's exciting.
Very nice, mate. Very nice. And can you tell us a little bit about how you first got into music and into the DJing scene?
Sure. I've always liked it's more like pop music and everything. And then I think when I was like 13, 14, I started to kind of notice the dance tracks in the pop charts a lot and buy the singles and everything. And then when I was 16, my cousin bought me a ticket for Sensation White. I don't know if you know the event. Everybody dresses in white.
Yeah.
So I went there, and I was completely in awe with everything I saw. DJ in the middle, everybody in white, dancing around it, light shows, everything. So that was the time that I thought, oh, whoa, this is really cool. So I bought a couple of old turntables and a mixer from a friend, and started practicing. So it's definitely, if the Sensation White event in 2001 is definitely like the kickstart for me to get into DJing. And just before I said, it's just dance music and pop charts that I really liked. But that one event was definitely like the boost I needed to take the step and buy the turntables and the mixer and start practicing.
Is it right that you ended up working for Sensation a little bit further down the line?
So that's in 2001. The event was in 2001, so I was 16 or something, 16, yeah. And if you fast forward, I think 2012, I landed a job at Sensation, social media and marketing. So that was cool. But even though it was fun to work for the company, and they allowed me to travel with the tour, so I went to Thailand with them, to the US and to South Africa, which is great, but eventually, you want to play at the event yourself. So that happened in 2018 in Czech Republic. So that's pretty cool, as in like a full circle thing, So that was definitely a cool moment for me.
Nice. So when you were working for Sensation, when you were doing the marketing, were you DJing in and around Holland or just kind of local?
Definitely, and they knew that, but especially at the time, Sensation's quit. It's stopped now, but it's a pretty prestigious event for a Dutch guy. I don't know how it is for the rest of the world, but for me as a Dutch guy, it's a big deal, and they don't really, it's not very easy to get on the lineup, as in they don't throw me a bone just because I work there. No, that was frustrating, because you saw some people on the lineups, and you saw those names, and you thought, I'm not really sure if he's a lot higher up the ladder than I am, but in the end it worked out. But definitely was. They knew that I was DJing, but now it's difficult to get on the lineup.
So when did you first make the jump from being, doing your normal job to being a DJ full time?
It was actually the Love Too Deep track. I've been DJing for about 18 years now or so. So I think Love Too Deep was 2014. So yeah, definitely a couple 12 years or something. I was DJing already, but then Love Too Deep, we released that one, me and Redondo. And Spinnin got in touch with us, and they wanted to do like a full scale release. So when that started snowballing a little bit and eventually made it to BBC daytime radio, that's the kind of the point that I felt like maybe it is something that I can pursue. Plus, I had a little situation that at the time I left Sensation because they were bought by an American company. So a lot of people had to leave. And I started working for Armada Music. But that's the direct competitor of Spinnin Records. So when Redondo called me with the message from, hey, listen, Spinnin wants to do the track. But that would mean that you're releasing music at a label that's the direct competitor of your employer. So I had to tell my boss, and there's definitely it's like Liverpool and Everton, those two.
Yeah.
So I had to tell my boss, listen, this is the situation, and yeah. So I got fired. Well, they didn't extend my contract.
Really? Wow.
Which makes sense. But so yeah, it was like a bit of a culmination of me actually starting to get a bit more confident about the fact that I might be able to make it like a full-time job. Plus that happened, contract not extended. So I figured, I might as well give it a go now and see what happens.
Yeah, that was the track, especially for us in Liverpool, that really brought your name about for us. We started playing that quite a lot, and that's when we first started to recognise you come on the scene, as well as Redondo, who's another Dutch producer. Yeah,
he is. Yeah, so yeah, he's. I work a lot with him as well. So even still, he's a great producer, and it's always great to have feedback from him. Or he helps me out with little things. So, but we're still great friends, and we work a lot on music together, but not Ferreck Dawn and Redondo anymore, because Redondo is a very it's a bit more commercial project of his, and I try to be more tech house, what you want to call it. So, but no, yeah, we definitely we speak to each other every day about music stuff. So, yeah.
So when you started DJing, when you were 16, 17, how long was it before then when you started to produce or learn to produce? Was it quite soon, or?
I think there's about 2-3 years, but I don't know if you know the story. But the reason why my name is Ferreck Dawn is because when I started DJing, I came up with Dusk. I don't know why I came up with that. It's been so long ago, but I played like Gabber and hardcore.
Really?
Yeah.
And I still love it. If I hear one song somewhere at a festival, I still like it, but like for 5 minutes, and then I'm fed up with it. But I still like when I love the energy. That's why I really like really hard techno as well, because I like the not for DJing anymore. So after 2-3 years, I was kind of fed up with the whole hardstyle, hardcore, and everything. So I figured I'm going to do a 180 because I like to do house. So for Dusk Till Dawn, and then Ferreck is just a different way of saying my real name, which is Freek, but English people can't pronounce it properly. You guys are Freak or something, so I had to come up with something.
Yeah.
But so when I made the switch from Dusk to Ferreck Dawn, that's also when I started getting into producing a bit more, which was terrible at the beginning. So I'm not musically trained. I never had piano lessons or anything. So I really had to learn by doing. So and it took me a while to get to a point that actually it was decent enough to have a proper release.
Did you hold back on the tunes, or did you try and push them out when you first started, not realising how bad they were at the time?
Oh, I pitched it to everybody and to like big DJs because I used to work at a record store in the southern part of Holland, and a lot of big DJs like Sander van Doorn and all those guys, Marco V, back in the day, those guys were really cool. I was playing them my music, and they were always a bit polite, but they said yeah. But at the time, you got it. You think, well, what? This is pretty good. But then in hindsight, when you listen back to it, you think it's unbelievably bad. But what did I know?
But after a few years, it seems like you really started to develop your own unique sound. Now when we listen to a Ferreck Dawn track, straight away we know it's you. I think we could listen to something without knowing the name and we would know it's your track because you've got that very unique style. So did you find that took a good few years to start to develop, or?
No, 100%. Yeah, but I'm first of all, thanks for saying that, because it's for me it's cool that people recognize my music without even seeing my name. It's really cool because you learn little tricks along the way. You learn a little bit from him, and you learn a little bit from that guy, and all together you find your own little ways that you find useful. And I think maybe in a way, repeating it over and over could be tedious and boring for other people. But on the other hand, as you said, it might be a signature or like a typical thing that I do. For instance, I put a producer exclusive tip. I put a little clock noise on the kick. And I think that's very recognizable because always, if you listen to a kick of my track, you always hit the
yeah.
That's a clock. So some like minor things like that. People might say it's boring that you do it every time. fair enough, maybe. But on the other hand, as you guys just said, it's a signature thing.
So, moving on from that, how did you first come into contact with getting a track signed for Defected?
I have to think about it. So, what happened is I did a track on Spinning Deep a couple of years ago. The track was called Higher, which was a bit more a deep house tune. And then Andy Daniel, who was the A&R back then, he reached out to me on Twitter and said, "Hey, man, it's a really cool song. We really like it." So that was a really cool moment for me because, Defected has always been one of my favorite labels and, especially in house, the biggest label. So definitely a dream to release music on Defected. And after that message from Andy, we just stayed in touch and I told him, "Listen, I'm going to just keep you up to date with new stuff." And then the couple tracks later, I think we sent, me and Robosonic sent In Arms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which they were into, but the idea at first was for it to be released on DFTD. So I think we sent it in let's say April, May of 2017, and it just they wanted a second track to complete the DFTD EP. So me and Robosonic started producing new tunes. A couple got rejected, and then finally we had one. It's called Lovers and Haters. It's still not released. They still have it. They still plan to release it, but it's not out yet. But what happened was, right before the Australia tour in 2018, Andy Daniel sent a couple of new releases to Sam Devine. And Sam, Sam told me the story last time. She said, I just, at the last minute, I downloaded the folder, put it on my USB, and just went through it in the plane or in the hotel or anything. And then she heard In Arms and, figured I'll play it, see what happens. And then she said she got a really great response to it from the get-go. She started playing the track over and over in the Australia tour. And then she told Defected, "Listen, this track is getting a lot of traction." And they also noticed that on the radio show. So then they decided to make it a solo record on the main label. And I'm happy they did because the track really did really well for me. I think it's my most successful song.
That was a really big song for us, especially as well. It seemed like there was a big PR campaign around that song to push it out quite a lot. And
and I think that's why I'm lucky that both the response to the radio show and Sam pushing it that really helped, because if it was I don't mean it in a bad way, but if it was just another DFTD EP, maybe they wouldn't have invested a lot of time and energy and effort in the marketing as they did now, being it a solo record on Defected on the main label. I don't know that. It's just what I think, but I definitely think their push, because they're phenomenal at it. They're pushing records and coming up with clever marketing tricks. Definitely amazing how well the track did, and I think was one of the most played tracks in Ibiza in 2018, which is really a cool thing for me. So yeah.
So you said as well when you tried to make a couple of tracks for Defected and they got rejected. Would you say it's always harder to try and make a track for a label?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, I've done it millions of times because you want to please the label and create something that you think this would be something that they would be into. I'm not going to say don't do it, because I did it as well. I think it's normal that you do it if you want to be part of a label and release on the label. Of course, you're not going to send Afro House to Defected, or maybe now with the new label, but that wasn't the right example. You're not going to send 135 BPM techno to Defected, But I do think that it's important to just stick to what you think is cool. And if you have a track that might be interesting for them, send it. But maybe not go force yourself to produce music, especially for one label. Because in the end, as you said, the signature sound, or that's cool if an artist has it, and it's something that you need to develop. And if you just copy something other people are doing, I'm not sure if that's the way to go, but it's very easy for me to say this now. As said, I've done this hundreds of times to produce music with the idea of releasing it on a certain label.
It's always part of an experience to look back on how you could have done it differently and obviously learn from your mistakes. But I think without making the mistakes, you'd never know.
No, 100%. Yeah, definitely. And as I said, it's not a bad thing to do, of course. And, you live and you learn, especially with music. It's not the easiest world, and you get rejected a lot. So you have to have thick skin, but it's keep at it, keep going.
Do you have a set formula when it comes to productions? Do you have, you need a vocal in every track, or you need a certain drop in every track, or do you just sort of let it flow? And
well, I definitely want a vocal in it. That's for sure. For instance, I think one of the best instrumental tracks from guys that you guys know really well, from Camel Fat, is Constellations.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. It's an amazing record, and one of the few records I feel that it doesn't need a vocal, but it's musically it's so well done, and there's so much going on musically and melody wise that's really something, and that's extremely difficult in my opinion. I'm not going to say that I'm not able to do an instrumental track that sounds good, but I think I am better at building a track around a vocal than creating something really purely instrumental. Plus, I like the emotion a vocal brings, but there's definitely not a certain way or strategy that I use every single time. It's just if I come across a top line or a sample that I think, oh, this could be cool, I just have it play and just see what happens, and just jam out and see if it works, yes or no. And sometimes it takes me 3 weeks to come up with a half decent idea, and sometimes I have two in the day. So you never know.
Yeah,
it happens. But and just touching on where you mentioned about using a sample, and we know recently you've released the collaboration with 8-Track, and you also did one with him last year. Obviously, that used some really great samples of some old records. We're just wondering how them collaborations came around. Obviously, 8-Track, he's from over in America, you're there in Holland. Is that something that was done online, or? Well,
actually, it's again Andy Daniel, who he was still working at Defected at the time. He sent me a message when I was on my way on a Friday to, I don't even know, but he says 8-Track is in London this weekend.
Okay.
If you're keen, would you mind coming over and do a session with him and see what happens? So I remember it took me a lot of flights, delays, difficulties, but I wanted to do it. It's 8-Track. You want to do a collab, especially with 8-Track. So I really had to move mountains to get there, but luckily it worked out. And then we had a session in London, ideas back and forth, and then he came with that idea of the rondo sample that we used the first time, the Coming Home one.
Yeah.
So we did have a real life session together, and then afterwards it was just back and forth online. And the second track is just a sample I found online. I made a setup, send it to him, see, how do you feel about it? Do you think we should do like a follow-up to the previous one? And then he made his little changes, and he added a really cool like duck sauce break. And that one was finished pretty quickly, actually. But, it's super cool to do a collab with a guy like 8-Track. He's a big guy,
Yeah, of course. And how did you find that when you were working back and forth, going online, sending projects back and forth? Was that quite easy, or is that a bit more difficult?
Well, I have to say I'm pretty used to it, because 9 out of 10 collaborations I do is online. I don't even remember, actually. I think 8-Track might be even the last one I was actually physically in the same room with. So I'm kind of used to it, doing it online, and you just bounce the stems, send it to the other guy, you talk about on the phone or on WhatsApp, and then he sends it back. It's fairly easy. Mm-hmm. I do struggle a little bit, I noticed, with doing online sessions with vocalists, with top liners. Mm-hmm. That's since COVID happened, of course. Yeah. I did a couple of them with like a digital Zoom session. But I really like it when you're in the room with the vocalist and the writer together, and just have a little vibe going. And that, to me, is definitely it's difficult to do that online. Yeah, because you meet someone has a certain energy, and sometimes it really works, sometimes it doesn't. But if it really works and it clicks, something really cool can happen, and you don't really get that online. Yeah. So that's definitely not. I don't find it easy to do online sessions with vocalists, but online sessions with different producer, just sending ideas back and forth, I find it fairly easy.
So, for example, the collaboration that you did with Lee Foss and Alex Mills, is that something that came together during the pandemic and you've had to do stuff over Zoom, or is that something that was previously written before the pandemic?
No, that was definitely during pandemic. So Alex Mills sent me the top line, and I did the backing track, and I sent it to Lee if he was interested to release it on Repopulate Mars. And he said he really liked it, so I proposed maybe we can do it together and see if you can add some stuff. And for me, I think Lee Foss is a great producer and great artist, and good for me to collab with. It's a different market. It's US, and it's a bit more techie, so it's interesting for me, I feel, to also work on a track with him. So that one actually also happened pretty quickly because Lee added some touches to it that really helped. And it's just online again. For instance, I never met Alex Mills before, even though we did 2 tracks together now.
Yeah.
It's just everything's online.
Yeah.
You've also had a track out on Green Velvet's label a few years back. How was that when you first realised you had that signed and accepted by the label? Because obviously, again, Green Velvet is another house music legend, so it must be quite a big thing.
Definitely, and that was before, probably around or before In Arms happened. So I definitely feel, so we spoke about Love Too Deep as in that was kind of the turning point, stopping my normal job and going pursue like a full-time career. And I think the period in between, it was all right, but it's definitely after In Arms, everything changed. So I think Rockin', the release on Relief, was either just before or around it. So I was definitely really happy with it, but it didn't really do as much as I hoped. And I think maybe if it was released a year later after In Arms had its success, maybe it would have done a bit more. But even still, it's a great label Relief, and as you said, Green Velvet is a legend. So very cool to release on this label.
Yeah, 100%.
So, at the time that you just mentioned when you were kind of in between Love Too Deep and In Arms on Defected, were you kind of in two minds there, whether to kind of keep the commercial sound, or was it almost like a natural progression to go a bit more underground? Or
so the thing was, what happened at the time is I signed a contract with Spinnin. When we did Love Too Deep, they offered us a deal. And the deal was pretty intense. Don't get me wrong, I love the guys. They're very cool. But what the deal was is that you sign a deal for 2 years and then it can be extended for another 2 years. So that happened. So that was a 4-year deal, which is pretty long, especially if you're kind of in your developing stage.
In that period of time, do you have to put out a certain amount of singles? Sorry.
No, they were pretty relaxed about it. And they're very cool and help you think of new ideas and everything. But at the end of the day, Spinning is a bit more commercial label, of course, than Defected. So I was kind of in between two minds in a way that I know if I want to release music on Spinning, it has to be a bit more commercial than the more deep house, the house stuff. But I definitely felt that I feel a lot more for In Arms or You Are the One kind of house than stuff I did with Joe Stone or something back in 2015 or something. So in a way, definitely a natural progression. And when the contract ended with Spinning, it kind of perfectly just it was around In Arms. So it was great that Defected started showing interest in the music and everything. So that kind of flowed over nicely.
Yeah, I've noticed you do quite a lot of tours with Defected as well. So how was that when the tour gigs first started coming in?
To me, 100%, it's the best thing. They're doing a tour with a group of guys. Fucking amazing. I saw George was on your on the podcast as well. I love the guy, and he was there with me when we did the Australia tour last year with Low Step and Sam Devine, Roberto Sorachi, and Cormac. But it's 100% the best tour the best experience as a DJ I've ever had, because you're with a group, it feels like you're in a band traveling, same hotel, same airport, same plane, everybody's, hungover. It's so different from, going from every weekend to weekend by yourself to Romania, to a small village, waiting in your hotel room all day to do the gig. It's such a different energy to go and do it with a group of people. Plus, the upside as well is because Defected is such a renowned name. It's going to be full house and packed and well done, cool production, everything, because they'll make sure that it's a great club and everything. So there's definitely there's a lot of upsides to it. There's no negative at all. It's amazing to be part of a group of guys that is kind of representing the sound of Defected around the world. So I'm super happy that they invite me to do that and have me being part of the group.
I always wondered, obviously it's quite a few headline DJs on the same show of different nights. How do you work out the set times? Who does the warm-up? Who does the closing set? Is it just you work it out between yourselves? Or
No, that's the Defected sets the times.
Right, okay. And do your times change at every venue, or do you do the same?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, for instance, maybe I play first and Low Step a second and Sam Devine third, and then the tour after it changes a bit.
that's quite nice. You can go through different types of music, I suppose, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, that's it's amazing. That's the one thing I miss the most to hang out with everybody from Defected, having the proper events, everything. I can't wait for that to come back.
It seems like they, as soon as they got you involved, obviously they'd seen you DJ. They really trusted your sound because it seemed like you were playing a lot of gigs for them. In Ibiza you were there a lot, and all of the countries around Europe and around the world when they were doing events. So they must really trust in your style.
I hope. I'm blessed that they put me on a lot of lineups. I'm super happy about that, and I hope we can continue this way for years and years to come, because it's an amazing feeling that they have your back, in a way. And it also, for me as a DJ, of course, it's great to be affiliated closely with Defected, because all other promoters that do house music, they look at Defected. So if Defected kind of shows me support, then there's I think other promoters might think, let's check him out, see what he's doing. So that's definitely, it's amazing that they have my back like that.
How was your first gig in Ibiza?
I played in Ministry of Sound in Eden, I think 2015, but it was terrible because I damaged my ears pretty severely. I have tinnitus, you guys might have it as well, just speakers, loud monitor speakers and everything. So for a while, I didn't really want to use my headphones extremely loud. So I figured I'm going to start using Tractor and just doing it visibly, doing it by looking at it predominantly. So I went to Ibiza, I brought everything, and then I forgot one little cable that I needed. So I had to play off a USB stick that I hadn't updated for 1.5, 2 years, and that was definitely not the best experience. It wasn't busy at all. I think there were like 150, 200 people. So, but it's funny because of course, being DJing in Ibiza probably is, especially when that's one of the coolest things there is, Yeah. So that was a bit of a disappointment, but now you live and you learn from it. But that wasn't the best one. But for the rest, the first one with Defected was amazing.
Was that also in Eden as well?
Eden, but packed, there were like 4,000 people. So I was extremely nervous. But you want to do well, but definitely the first one in Ibiza. I think it was together with Robosonic, but that was an amazing experience. Every time I play there, man, fucking hell, you can't even see. You only see heads. That's how busy.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy busy. I've noticed that you use in-ear monitors instead of headphones. So for anyone who's watching who doesn't quite understand what they are, can you just explain how that is different to using the other headphones?
So in-ear monitors is practically you don't it's how do I say it in the best way? It's just the speaker. You don't need monitor speakers at all. You can turn music off, and everything is just how do you say it? It's in here, but you can switch. What I do is I split it. Left I have my the current track, and right I have the new one, and that's how I play. So I don't need a headphone anymore. I just use those, which is very boring for other people in the DJ booth because I turn off the monitors completely. But for me, it's a very safe way because there's a lot less pressure on my ears compared to headphones or speakers. And it's for me the only way to actually just to keep doing it because I have pretty severe tinnitus and I don't want it to get worse. So I don't want to run the risk of being a really loud DJ booth with loud headphones and everything. Yeah. But that's why I switched to in-ears, and it's a bit. You have to get used to it in the beginning a little bit. But the upside of it, for instance, is that the sound never changes because I don't need monitor speakers. So even if the acoustics in a room is really bad, it doesn't influence me because it's always the same because it's so close to my ear, it doesn't change.
When you did make that transition, I thought it might have been quite difficult because it's such a big change. If you don't have the monitors on, you might not feel the bass or the energy as much. How did you find that, or was it not too bad?
Really hard, yeah. In the beginning, especially the first, let's say, 10 gigs, it's really, you really have to get used to it. And also it makes you a little bit insecure, of course, because you know what you're doing usually. But now it's different. You know how it is if you're DJing and you can't hear it properly and everything. So that's definitely something you have to get used to. And even still, although the upside is that you don't need a monitor, I still have to get used to the balance compared to the master and the volume of the channels. the first 10 minutes of my set, but after I found a little balance on the mixer, then I'm good to go. But it's definitely something that is you need a little while to get used to it.
So what would your typical day look like before COVID and hopefully when COVID's finished? How would your day or your week pan out if you were going on a tour or you were in the studio?
Oh, so when, let's say during the week at home, I just I take my kids to school and then just start producing all day long. Test out new stuff. Just regular producing. Just 4 days a week. Sorry, I have one dead day during the week, and just 4 days of producing music, and then in the weekends, hopefully, let's hope that it comes back off to the airport, and
somewhere different every weekend.
That's what I like the most, just to experience new cultures, seeing new things, and that's actually something that I miss the most, especially last year. I've been DJing around the world for 6 years now or so, and then I'm kind of used to that kind of life now, as in be at home in the week and be away in the weekends, and I really like that little balance that I got going on at the time, and experience new things, seeing new stuff during the weekends. But now, after the past year, even though I love spending time with my wife and my kids, don't get me wrong, but it's the work balance, the work-life balance is pretty lost, and it's pretty flat line. It's a bit boring. So that's definitely something I really miss, to experience new things again. And for instance, when it all happened, which is probably a year ago now, this week, I was supposed to go to Mozambique the coming weekend, and then the weekend after that Sri Lanka, the weekend after that Brazil. It's wow. If you say that out loud, it's mental, and that's what the coolest thing is. Yeah. And then for it to all go away in like that, that's hard to deal with, and I really hope it comes back.
It's had quite an effect on some DJs' mental state of mind as well, because it's hard to go from literally flying somewhere different every week to doing nothing, to stuck in the house 24 hours a day.
Yeah. And I have to admit, of course, I would be lying if I would say that it didn't really do much for me. It affected me a lot. Luckily, I have a great family, and life is good overall, But of course, it's hard to. As you said, everything went really well, and you could definitely tell that the cool gigs were coming in around the world, and then all of a sudden this happens, and then you wonder from what will happen if it comes back. Am I still at the same level? Am I still? Did you still find me interesting? Did I go down a couple of steps on the ladder when it comes back? It's very insecure. So that's the one side. So that's the career side that makes you a bit insecure. Then there's the financial side, which is challenging. I don't know what the rules are in the UK, but in the Netherlands, if you're a music producer, if you're a musician, but your work address is also your home address, then you don't get any support, because my studio is at home.
Wow.
I don't know what the rules are in the UK. Maybe it's the same, but so there's no financial support, and the insecurity of where you'll be career-wise. That's not great. So that's that definitely doesn't help. So I figured out, but the best thing to do is just keep on producing and keep up releasing tracks. And I think the best way to stay top of mind is, do regular live sets, make sure that you have a release every 6 to 8 weeks, something to talk about on social media. I think that's super important now to keep up like the momentum and assets, stay top of mind for promoters or fans or whatever.
Definitely.
100%. So when you were traveling around the world, and how would you prepare for going for different countries? Say, for example, you said you were going to Mozambique and then you're going to Brazil. Would you find that the crowd would be different in countries, or did it always end up happening the same way?
Well, those two you just mentioned, I never been there because it got cancelled the last second. But definitely, I let's say there's a couple of new tracks that you want to play. There's a couple of tracks that you guys know as well, kind of pure shots, and then you can tell what the DJ is playing before you at the event and how people are responding to that, and then I just kind of wing it usually, and that's how I feel it should be. I don't want to plan my set or have like a whole structure going on and what I'm going to do. I do plan my sets for the live streams. When I do the live, I plan it a bit more because there's no audience that I can react to.
Yeah.
So that's definitely different. Also because it's very, I feel the live streams are so in a way intense, because everybody's just watching you. There's no distractions.
Yeah.
If you're at a club, people are drinking and having a laugh and everything. But with those live streams, people are just looking at you. So it needs to be, every mix needs to be super tight. The tracks need to be the line, the order needs to be great. Tonally, it needs to be perfect. So that requires a lot more preparation in my book than a normal DJ set where I just vibe pick up the vibe of the crowd and kind of respond or go with it.
Yeah. What would you say is the best gig you've ever done?
I think so. It's a combination of it's all Defected gigs actually. It's the Defected Croatia was really great to do that one in 2019. So
everybody says Croatia is the best place.
Unbelievable. I can't really explain. I've been to a lot of festivals in my day, but the energy and the vibe of the people there is really, really something. So I played in London at Egg, and we had to fly straight to Croatia, but I never been to Croatia before for Defected, so I didn't really know I saw the videos, but I didn't really know what to expect. And then with no sleep, I landed there. They say you have to get a new shirt and then you have to go be DJ on the boat. It was all very rushy, but maybe that's the cool thing is how that boat was so amazing, the energy. Maybe that whole the rushiness and everything, hurry and then be on the boat and do that gig. That was so cool. So I'm really happy I did that one, and also the Croatia, the Defected Australia tour. There were two. I think especially Sydney and Bali were really, really, really something as well.
A lot of people say that Croatia is like kind of how Ibiza used to be many years ago. Before all of the clubs with the tables and the drink service. Everyone says it's like Ibiza in maybe the 1990s.
It's really because it's not a big festival. It's like 5,000 people, but that's kind of I think what makes it so good. Plus, it's not an easy location to get to. You have to put in some work to get there. So the people who actually there, they are willing to invest time and money and energy to go to be at that festival. And I think if people are willing to do that, then they are truly passionate about the music as well. And I think that's the reason why that festival has such a great energy.
We heard a lot about the after party at Barbarella's as well. Did you ever go to that?
It's and the whole festival. It's definitely if you guys have the time for it, then definitely go there. Fingers crossed it will happen this year. I have no idea yet where whole Europe will be vaccination wise, COVID wise, but that's definitely the one festival that I really hope that will happen.
Yeah, that's on our list. That definitely. Yeah.
We need to get over there definitely.
Yeah, definitely go for like 6 days because it's worth it.
Yeah. What's the in terms of other DJs? Obviously, as you said, when you were younger, you used to go to Sensation and that kind of thing. And when you go to these DJ or the festivals, you still see other DJs playing. So, what would you say is the best DJ set that you've personally ever seen?
Well, I like. I like when I go out. I like to go see techno DJs. Especially a couple of years ago, I used to be a big fan of Luciano. I don't really like him as much anymore. I don't know. To me, kind of lost the magic a little bit. Maybe, but that's me. So I saw him once. That was really amazing back in 2011 at 12 or something in Pacha when he did the Vagabundos, And I saw Richie Houghton once at Paradiso in Amsterdam, and I'll never forget this. They would keep telling him that he should stop, but he kept waving them, pushing them away, play another record. But I just like techno music to dance to. So definitely Luciano and Richie Houghton, but it's both like 10 years ago, I think.
You have some good choice then in Holland. You've got the likes of Awakenings and the likes of Gas Houder and all the festivals there. There's so much great choice in Holland. Yeah,
we're lucky with that, and that's so. For years and years, I used to go to all those techno and house events, but that's definitely, especially when I traveled to Denmark, I think 4 years ago. I noticed how few festivals they have, maybe like 4 or something, or 5, maybe not even. And if you compare that to UK or Netherlands, we were super lucky that we were able to grow up in a country where electronic music is so big, because a lot of countries with a lot of people that are from Sweden, or especially Scandinavia, in my opinion, there's a lot of people who like electronic music, but there's not a lot of places to go and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So we're definitely lucky that we were, it's pick and choose actually, same as for UK,
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of young up and coming producers, and there may be some watching this now. How would you say is the best way to approach a big label with your music?
Yeah, it is a. I don't want to be a downer on the whole thing, but it's not easy. You know, it's labels get so much music, so many people send them new demos, and so that's definitely not easy. So, of course, I understand you want to aim for the highest immediately, but maybe a good strategy would be is kind of go up the ranks, just so release on a less known label, but you still, for instance, if you look at Beatport, you look at the top 100. There's a lot of labels that's not as big as Defected, but they're doing a good job. And maybe it's a good idea to try to aim for those first and kind of build it up. So if you do a track on the label that's not super big, but it still performs well, the guys from Defected or Tool Room or whatever label people want to release on, they will definitely notice. Because otherwise, just sending music to a big label out of nowhere might be difficult because they just get so much.
Yeah.
But maybe building it up slowly but surely is a good way.
Yeah, a lot of people say that kind of networking with people as well is the key, because obviously sometimes you can send an email, and as you said, there's so many emails getting sent. But if you can actually get to somebody who's an A&R in person and maybe give them a USB, the likes of that.
That's always good, of course. So if you see someone face to face and you look each other in the eye, have a little high five, have a drink together. Of course, that's amazing, and if you're able to do that, 100% go try and do that. But that might not be possible for everybody. And so I said I've tried. I did the same thing. I sent music to the biggest labels when I wasn't releasing as much. I did it hundreds and thousands of times. So the thing is, especially, is you have to have thick skin. There's a lot of rejection. A lot of
rejection.
Yeah.
Just got to keep going, even when they say no. Don't let it get you down, and just keep making music and sending it.
And I know it's not easy, and believe me, I think I thought 1,000 times, I'm going to quit. Fuck this, I'm done. Yeah. But if you really into it, then you'll keep going, and then sort of slowly but surely you'll get there. But it's just as we said before, stick to your own sound, and just keep pushing, and eventually you will get there. It takes time,
What would you say is your favorite track or your most proud track that you've done to date?
So that's definitely In Arms. Yeah, that's definitely 100%. I said Love Too Deep as well, as in that kind of changed my life or career. But I think the production of In Arms, it sounds really good. The response of people, kind of the whole kickstart for me with Defected, which definitely the gigs with Defected have gone, just seeing the career go up because of that track is definitely will always stand out for me as maybe my most important one.
Nice, yeah, it's a strong track, isn't it? You could still play it now, and
100%. It was definitely big for us in Liverpool, and they love a good vocal track in Liverpool.
Yeah, because it got a full vocal done after a little bit later after the release, didn't it?
So that vocal actually, that was the original, the full top line as where the hook came from already. So it wasn't that. What sometimes happens is that there's a sample and then they write a new top line on top of it.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case with this one. So the chop, the I Got You in My Arm, that's actually from that top line.
Okay.
And so because it did well in the clubs, the guys from Defected said maybe it's smart to do a full vocal version as well to see if we can get it to radio. And although we got a number of specialist plays, it didn't go to daytime radio, which is a shame. But, you can't really... it's up to the radio, of course. But I think it's a solid version. It does really well on Spotify, the full vocal one. It's not the version I would play in a club because I'm more of the W one. But I think it's a great idea to do a full vocal of it.
I remember we asked George this same question when he was on. What do you think about people having phones out when you're in a nightclub?
I get it. You want to kind of savor the memories and look at it. But for me, if I could choose, of course, no phones. As in, I like people dancing and having the best time instead of looking at their phone and how pretty they look on their Instagram selfie. If I could choose 100%, I think there's events in the Netherlands as well that you're not allowed to bring your phone to the event because, you have to give them, put them in a locker or something. So that the event is actually something you share together and you enjoy together, and then that's it. I think that's pretty cool, but of course it's not something that will, it's part of the whole thing now. It's part of the whole culture. Everybody.
That's it. Yeah.
If I could choose, 100% no phones on the dance floor, but if it is what it is.
Yeah, that's it.
I think it was I went to a club in Amsterdam, die school.
The school, yeah. You're not allowed to.
In there, they said no phones. And when you went in, you went into the basement and it was complete darkness.
It's closed now.
Okay.
They went bankrupt. So because of COVID, the problem with...
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is a shame because it's a really cool place. It was a bit dingy, you know, but they had dark rooms and everything. They copied Berghain a little bit in Berlin, and that's where they do with the door bitch and the stickers on the cameras of the phone and everything. That was a really cool club, but it's a shame it's no more.
Yeah, and how's things looking in Holland in terms of, you know, obviously in the UK we're getting lots of success. It seems with the vaccine, and they're hoping to get festivals back on by the summer. Is there any chance of that happening in Holland?
It all depends on a number of vaccines we're getting. What actually happened is in the beginning when it happened, I think in May or something, the Dutch together with the Netherlands together with I think Spain, of Italy and France, we bought a lot of vaccines that would definitely sort us out. But then Europe got involved and everything got centralized. So now probably they did it for a better negotiation position regarding the price of the vaccines or whatever, you know. But now is that everything is divided between the countries. So we don't have a lot of vaccines. We are very slow. I think we were about second to last 2 weeks ago. So they say that it could be done that every adult could have a first shot in July. That's what they aim for. But there's a lot of disappointments with number of vaccines coming in and everything. So I doubt it. I think some events will happen in August. All the big festivals change their date to August and September. Yeah. Everything, because there's in the Netherlands, they introduced some kind of fund. If you do an event after July 1st and you have to cancel it because of COVID, the government will refund it. So they do it, which is a good thing because they want to make sure that the dance scene, culture, festival stays alive. Otherwise, everybody goes bankrupt. So that's pretty cool. So you can tell that all the festivals go to September, October, August, September, October, which is also surprising because you see, for instance, Awakenings Festival, which is 40,000 people, and it's going to sell out. But I don't really see that happening actually in September already with people traveling and everything. I don't really. So it's very unclear what will happen. It's cool that the government did that like cancellation fund, so to make sure that everybody still will do the events. But I have no idea. How do you guys feel about what will happen in the UK though?
We seem to be rolling the vaccine out at a pretty high rate. Yeah. We've been told we can get the go ahead back to normal June the 21st.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So hopefully, but nobody really knows. You know, you get told different things every week, so who knows where we'll be.
And so, in the UK, probably you have to get vaccinated or tested if you want to enter the festivals, etc.
Well, that's what they're talking about, yeah, and maybe a rapid scan system where they give you a 20-minute test or something like that. But again, who knows?
It's still too early to say.
No, it's as I said before, it's unbelievable testing. You know, mentally, financially. If you want to, especially now, you want to, after a year or so, a year in, come on and open up. Go.
That's it. Yeah. The industry has just been left behind, you know. But hopefully we'll get it back to normal sooner rather than later.
Because you guys play in Liverpool every week, usually, right?
Yeah, we're in a club called 54, and we're there every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we have other places that we play. But that's obviously been our full-time job for a while, so we're just totally left in the dark with everything as well. You know?
And how do you guys get by now then?
We had a little bit of help from the government, but
not much, was it?
No, not much.
Just enough to keep ticking by, and using money that you've got savings, and it's just...
We're the same as you. We just get in the studio every day and just try and take your mind off it and just carry on making music and wait for it to finish, really.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing you can do, right?
Yeah, it's been hard as well, even getting in the studio, because it's like there's not much inspiration from any events. Or
yeah, definitely. And then but what do you think about people, DJs, that kind of holding back their tracks because they say that it's no point releasing it? I don't think it's smart to do that personally, but
I think to stay relevant, you have to keep releasing music, because if you hold back, someone else is going to release a track that's potentially better than the track you're waiting on. You know?
Yeah. Plus, if you're waiting on it, and then when everything opens up and everybody releases their big track, then
exactly. Yeah, it might get forgotten about. But anyway, enough of the COVID talk. Shall we move on? So, what would be your dream club or event to play at that you've never done?
That's a tough question, actually. I don't really have a specific one that I would love to. I'm sure there's a lot of places that don't come. Well, maybe one club that I when I started going to Ibiza in 2008 or something, I had one of the best nights of my life at Pacha, and I never played Pacha.
Yeah, it's an amazing club.
It's just something magical about it, So that's definitely one that's on my list. As in, that would be, for me personally and emotionally, would be a big thing for me to play Pasha. Either if it's the first slot, or I don't care if there's 0 people in, I don't care. But I do want to do it in the old DJ booth. I don't like the new DJ booth.
Yeah, I've not been to the club actually since it's changed, but the old DJ booth it's legendary, isn't it? The amount of people who've played there.
Top, I don't want a big one in the middle. I want that one. So that would definitely. So like Pacha is definitely a place I'd love to play. There's not a lot of clubs in the world right now that I'd actually know. I would really love to play at. I do really want to play in South America. I never played South America. I hear everybody saying that the people there are mental. They go, they keep going. I played Mexico once, which is really, really something. Probably the same energy, same fire they have, So Mexico was amazing. So I would love to play Argentina, Brazil, Chile, all those countries. But definitely there was a lot. There were like 3 or 4 on the list to do last year. But then we're not going to go back into it. But then this happened. Let's hope it comes back. South America is definitely, that would be like the one continent that I haven't played at. So also that's cool to tick all the boxes,
I'm sure that'll come back for you no time soon. But just because we are getting aware of the time and we're just approaching the 60 minutes, just had one final question, and we'd just like to ask the best piece of advice you give to someone trying to succeed in the music industry. Maybe if there's any young producers watching. Keep
going. Don't let anybody get you down. It's hard. I know it. It's really hard. Keep pushing. There's the only way to get there. Either you need extreme luck, but let's say 99.9% of people don't have extreme luck in music. It's like the Wellerman guy or something, or what's it called? Sea shanty. That's extreme luck. Fair play to him, though, but that's happy. But so let's say that doesn't happen to you or me or anybody. Keep pushing. If you want to get into DJing, buy mixers and start practicing. And definitely don't think it's easy to just download the Beatport Top 20 and you'll do a decent set. Look at other DJs, look at YouTube videos of how do they build their set and what's actually going on. Because I think people think, of course, DJing as in to mix a record is very different when you used to do it on vinyl compared to now. But to me, being a good DJ is not if the mixes are super tight. It's about the choices you make during the set,
Of course.
And I think that's something that comes with experience, but that's definitely something that you can practice, in my opinion. Although there's no crowd, you can learn from watching other people do it on YouTube and see what's happening. And watch a lot of tutorials if you want to get into music production. Especially these days, you see, especially in your Facebook feed, you see all these DJs doing tutorials now. So if there's a couple DJs that you really like, subscribe to the tutorial. You learn a lot from it. I saw a video from an EDM guy called Kashmir. It's like a little clip on Facebook, like 2 minutes, and he actually gave me a great tip. So even if you're up higher level, you can still learn from those tutorials. So that's definitely, I think, a good tip. So watch other DJs play on YouTube and see what happens. Learn about the house music. Go to Beatport, go to Traxsource, do that, and watch tutorials for music production. Nice. I would do, and the main thing is just keep going, no matter what, keep going.
Yeah, that's the main point. We're just going to finish off on some quick fire questions for you as well, if you don't mind.
No, sure.
So first answer that comes to your head: Apple Music or Spotify?
Spotify.
Vinyl or CDJs?
Vinyl.
City break or beach holiday?
City break.
Nice. Cycling or running?
I hate both.
Club or festival?
Club.
Nice. We've got Ibiza or Croatia.
Croatia.
High or space?
Space.
Nice. And day party or night party.
Day party.
And DC10 or Amnesia?
DC10.
Nice. Good choice.
Yep. Some very popular answers there as well.
Oh yeah, I like Amnesia as well. It's just DC10 is man. Also, when I started going to Ibiza in 2008, something that Luciano, Villalobos, all those guys, DC10, never been there, and then you see what happens there. And fucking hell,
it's completely different, isn't it?
This is something.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Nice.
I'd love to play there, but I know that will never happen because musically it's just too different, you know. It's a realistic dream, but I really love the place.
Never say never. Never give up.
Yeah.
But anyway, right. Thank you very, very much for being on today with us. You've shared some great insight there for anyone who's watching, who's an up-and-coming DJ or producer.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
and hopefully we'll see you soon. Yeah,
I hope so.
Let's get the visa issue sorted, then we'll get you over.
I'll ask the guys from the agency to look into it because it needs to get sorted before end of May because that's the first one, and then hopefully, let's hope for summer that I'll be in Liverpool again.
Yeah,
hope
let's
so.
hope so.
If not, we'll see you in Amsterdam soon.
ADE.
Oh yeah, if that happens.
If it happens.
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, guys.
Right, thank you,
thanks
mate.
for having me.
Cheers.
Thank you.
you.
See you soon.
Bye.
See you soon. Take care.
Bye.